Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us today. Happy New Year. This is the first time we're recording in 2025. We took the month of January off just to reconnect a little bit and take a break from social media and so forth, just with what it called for last year. But we're back now. We're very excited to kick off the year again here on our channel. We thought we'd do this with a question and answer. Several of you have asked about Michael's mom and the recent scare we had with her. And actually, do you just want to jump into that?
Yeah. Just first off, I just want to say thank you to so many of you who've reached out to us and to all of my siblings, just letting us know that you're praying for my mom. It was probably one of the scariest times that I think we've ever been through with my parents' health. Just being in ICU and feeling so helpless and knowing that there's nothing we could do, praying and just trusting the doctors, and as a nurse looking at her blood levels and her blood work coming in and hearing things, it was kind of overwhelming and very scary. We had all seen Mom, I guess, a few days before she went in the hospital, and she had driven to South Carolina to be with my grandparents for different doctor's appointments and care for them, and then got a call from my grandmother that she was in pain and wasn't doing well. And then I called to try and talk with her and she couldn't talk. So I immediately called my dad. She had kidney stones and it had turned into sepsis and she was unaware of it. She has a really, really high pain tolerance, more than probably anybody I've ever known. And she just didn't realize what it was. And then when she got the kidney stone, it was severe pain. So she went by ambulance to the hospital, and then pretty quick, they knew that she was in a very dangerous spot.
We were babysitting at the time for Keilen and Evan, and we were supposed to be there another day. We were at their house. It was for a couple days, and we found out that Michael's mom was sick, not doing well, and needed the ambulance and so forth. And so I was at work, and Michael called me. She's like, I was gonna go next week to South Carolina because she was planning on spending some time with her grandparents already. She's like, I have to go now, I think. It's that bad. And so it's like, okay. So she met me at work. We were, got in the same car. And we
waited till Evan got back.
Oh, yes. Carl and Evan were away. They had to cancel their where they were. And Evan came back to watch. No kids were
left unattended.
Right. Evan came back with the kids early. They had to stop their trip early. So because Keilen was heading to South Carolina as well, the whole family, all the kids. So once Evan got back, we hit the road and headed to South Carolina.
I feel like on this side of it, with Mom recovering well, it's a little easier to talk about, but it was definitely frightening. She was moved to ICU, and it was very overwhelming, very emotional to see Mom in such a helpless place and to just see her body fighting and struggling. And she's such a great mom, and she was trying to acknowledge everybody in the room, and she likes her children around her. And so I think that really helped in the healing process some. The messages and the comments and the people praying, it just really has touched our hearts and meant so much to us, knowing how many of you guys care for us and for my parents. And
it was such a, it was a scary time, but it was also like, through the night watches, there was stuff going on in the day, but Michael really wanted to be with her mom's side, and make sure everything was okay.
Happy they let me stay. I know that that's not always possible, but
but bless Michael's heart. She was sitting there day and night. She took a couple breaks, but she was staying through the night for multiple nights with her mom, and I was concerned for your sake.
I was happy to be there. It gave me so much peace of mind just being able to actually hear what the doctors were saying and be able to see my mom as she started improving. It was just, I feel like I would have been more stressed if I wasn't there.
Maybe so, but that's how much Michael cares about her mom. She just stay there as much as she needs to. But
we're very grateful to the Lord, first off, for touching her body, and to the medical team. The doctors were absolutely incredible. Even sooner than they had anticipated, she was able to come home. And I think a lot of that goes to the many of you who were praying for her, who God did a huge miracle, I feel like, touching her body, and used the doctors to help her recover. So she is home. She says she's 100%. I think she's still a bit weaker than her normal, but she is really close to being back to normal. And I think for all of us, recovery surprised us a bit in how quickly she bounced back. The first couple of days, she was pretty weak and took it kind of slow, but she's very resilient.
So we're just so thankful. We got several questions about that. how was...
A lot of questions. That really meant so much. Just reading, I feel like it was every 2 or 3 questions was, how's your mom? And that was just, it was really, really meaningful just knowing how much people care for mom.
Yeah. So we'll cover some more questions now, but we just wanted to let you know she is well on the mend, and God answered a lot of prayers. That was a blessing. But we'll cover some more questions you guys asked recently and see where this goes.
You ready? Let's see. We'll do the speed version and see how many we can get through.
Okay.
How do you encourage each other emotionally?
Who goes first?
You go first.
How do I encourage you emotionally? Michael is somebody, she loves hugs. She loves, just closeness. And so if I notice she's having a bad day or something, a good hug will usually
clear it up.
It will. It's a simple fix. She's very low maintenance that way. I guess that if we're doing the quick version, a hug goes a long way with her. So
you do a good job. I feel like for you, quiet time alone, free from distractions, where you can verbalize and get your feelings out. And sometimes that takes...
Us together alone.
Yeah, us together. Okay. I feel like that takes a little bit of time. So we usually take a drive. Yeah. But I feel like emotionally it has to be quiet, phones away, no distractions, to be able to just focus and then talk through what's happening.
You do good at that.
Is that...
She's a sounding board. She listens. If I have a bad day at work or something, she lets me get it all out. And you do emotionally encourage me that way.
I do think it's super important. And I don't think I realized how important it was to emotionally be there for each other when we first married. So I think it's something that we have grown in over the years to learn that sometimes there's just this checklist of the house is done and the laundry's done and he's been to work. But then there are those things that are just as vitally important emotionally. I feel like that's something we're growing in.
Yes. Yeah. A work in progress. So.
Your evident love for children is obvious. Have y'all considered adoption? I feel like that's something that we get a lot of messages about. And that is something that we deeply appreciate your comments. Many of you who are adopted have reached out and just shared things with us that have really helped us, because it is something new. So that has been very helpful and very much appreciated. We both kind of feel like the amount of details we want to share at this phase are rather limited. It's ever changing. It's very emotional. There are a lot of ups and downs, just like there are with infertility and loss. There are some of the same emotions in this process, and a lot of things happen rapidly and change. So
you don't always know where something's going to land. And so it seems like one thing and then not. So
it is a journey.
Yeah.
So I don't feel comfortable sharing a lot of details. And I hope that's understandable. It's something that we're navigating and we're learning. We do really appreciate the messages, especially from those of you who have adopted and who are adopted. And at some point, I feel like we'll be able to update more and share a lot more, keeping a journal and having all of these little things in place. And hopefully at some point we will invite everyone in and share a lot more to what we've kind of been walking through. Next, do you have anything exciting planned for this year?
Do we?
We have a very exciting thing planned for this year.
Tell them about it.
We are in the process of planning. We're not finished yet, but it's our 10th anniversary in August, and we are hoping to take a trip to Alaska. So if you have any suggestions of what is the best to do there, please let us know.
Yes.
Next up, what is this year's theme for I Love You Day? I am so excited about this year's theme. Our I Love You Day celebration is going to be a little bit later because of Mom's hospital stay and the family all traveling to South Carolina. We postponed it a little bit just to kind of make it easier for all of the out-of-towners who would need to travel. But this year's theme is the 50s. So we can come as general 50s costume or a person from the 50s who was iconic or who was born in the 50s. So there are so many options. I try to make our costumes every year, and we have not narrowed down
she does a very good job too.
Who we're going to be yet. Next, a scripture you are meditating on going into the new year. I feel like this year Ephesians has been my most treasured book of the Bible. I've probably already read it at least probably almost 24 times. It has just been so meaningful. It's one of my favorite books of the Bible, and several of the chapters I've put to memory, and just thinking about it has been so encouraging, especially with just what we've been through and realizing what God has given us through Christ Jesus and how he sees us and who we are in him. It has been just so encouraging to me this year, just the whole book. That's
good. For me, this has been, kind of reoccurring throughout the years here. But John 15 has been a very focused one for me this past month. It's just the imagery of the branch and the vine is just something I need constantly. And just thinking about what that means in different ways and what the Lord wants me to be focusing on through the imagery provided in that chapter. It's been a blessing to me. That's probably been the main one for me this year.
I do love that chapter. It's what our Instagram handle is.
That's right.
We get questions about that frequent. It's our names and then JN15, and it's for John chapter 15. Mm-hmm. Next. Oh, this one's not a question, but it's very kind. We have missed you both. I am so glad you're back. I love the meaningful content you share. Thank you so much. We actually missed you guys too. So it's really fun to be back, and we're excited for just hanging out in the new year. Mm-hmm. Are you still helping out at the hospital? Yes. We also took a break the month of January from our hospital responsibilities. We were unaware how involved the month of January was going to be, so it wasn't quite as restful as we had anticipated, but just closing off any extra commitments that we had and being able to focus and be with my mom and kind of prioritize the things that we needed to do at home was very helpful, and I feel like it was kind of providential that God allowed us to take January off of kind of all of our activities and everything. So Monday is our very first night back at Children's, and I am so excited because I have missed those babies. Next up, this one's kind of funny. Do you each remember a time when you realized your large families weren't the norm? I think one of the first times that I realized like our family was big was when we outgrew a 15-passenger van. And Zach had just gotten his license and he needed to follow in the car behind us, and one of us kids would get to rotate and ride in the following car. And I think that was kind of the first time that I remember thinking, our family's kind of big. What about you?
Well, there was only 10 in my family, so not nearly as big as hers. And being one of the youngest, having a lot of people around was just normal. So it did take a while to be conscious that maybe, this isn't quite the norm.
Next up, I really loved your lasagna recipe. Any chance you would consider sharing more recipes? I did my lasagna recipe on my brother's YouTube channel, The Bates Kitchen, and it was so much fun. And he's actually been encouraging me that I should share more recipes on our channel. So I don't have any recorded yet, but I do have a list started of some things that I frequently make for us. And
so up and coming.
Yes, they'll be coming up. I was kind of nervous. I'm not as professional as him, and I don't have like fancy recipes, but so many of you reached out that you enjoyed that, and Zach was like, you should do it. You should just share what you do. So
different type than Zach has. But
very different, but we're going to give it a try. Next up, how do you remain so strong in faith despite your struggles? I feel like this is a really important question because life throws all of us struggles. Every single person. Some are harder than others. Some are, they touch different areas of our life, but nobody has a perfect struggle-free life. And I feel like Jesus Christ is the one constant thing that no matter what you're facing, he can give peace even in the midst of the storm. And so I just feel like it is the one option to have security, because we're all gonna battle things and it's gonna look different for each of us. Even just all of my siblings, the things that we're tested with and walk through were very different, even being in the same family. But I think the source of strength and hope that comes from having faith in the Lord is just the one constant thing that helps us to get through whatever we face.
Yeah. One thing that comes to mind for me and with a question like this is, you've probably heard this before, but the difference between happiness and joy. And it's happiness is based on circumstances, happenings, which are always fluctuating. And for that, as long as everything's going the way I want, I can be positive, I can be happy. Everything's going my way. But as soon as that doesn't go my way, I lose the happiness. I'm not happy anymore. But joy isn't quite as fluctuating. With joy, that's something that God can give on a heart level, more or less. And as I'm walking with him, the Bible says in God's presence is fullness of joy. And so spiritually speaking, spending time with the Lord and making sure to be close, he actually gives a joy on a heart level that kind of sustains through the times where things are up and down on the surface. I guess it'd be the difference between an anchor on a rock at the bottom of the sea and being on the top of the sea where all the waves are going during a storm time. You can choose where you're going to exist, and if it's more on that surface where the waves are just going up and down all the time, it's going to be tough. It's going to be fluctuating, and you're not going to feel good all the time. That's just kind of a fact of life. But there is something deep down that God wants to give us that kind of keeps it constant, that doesn't have to fluctuate so much. And it's not just about, okay, I'm deciding to believe the right thing and that will keep me constant through the hard times. Faith is actually a doorway to experience God. That's the thing. It's not my faith that gets me through. It's God that gets me through, and faith just gives me access to God. So I guess that's what comes to mind for me, is just that, hard times come, and in our feelings, on the surface of our life, things are going up and down and in and out and round and round all the time, and we get feeling, sad and dizzy and frustrated, on the surface. But God does give something else if we give him a chance. So anyway.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things, like we experience, I think, all the emotions that everybody else experiences. It's not like there's constant positivity. I mean, we don't share all of the tears and the hurt and the pain here in a public setting, but we do experience those, and we cry on each other's shoulder, and we have to cry out to the Lord and, beg for grace and help. Yeah. But I do think that knowing that God promises to work all things for good, like, no matter what we're going through, I think that gives the encouragement and the hope that we can regather our emotions and we have that stability. Like you said, an anchor. Yeah. Next up, what new and exciting things are you doing? You want to tell them?
Well, we have been working on a new children's book.
Our nieces and nephews have inspired us. We have the little ones who love to be read to. So.
Yes, we read me a book. So we thought we'd do one for them. And so we'll share more details about that in the future. It's not finished, but it's getting close. The illustrations have just been completed, and we're approaching the finish line. So stay tuned on that, but we're excited.
Next up, favorite soda.
Favorite soda. Is yours Diet Coke?
No.
Dr. Pepper with cherry?
No.
Mountain Dew with cherry?
No.
What? You love all of those.
I do. I've actually been trying not to do very much soda.
Oh.
You know what I'm going to say?
Yes, okay.
When I am taking a long trip and I need an extra caffeine, I love the cherry-flavored Alani. Mm-hmm. It is a lot of caffeine, so I try to limit it because I know it's not good for me, but I still do it. But yes, cherry Alani. What about you?
Those are good. I also like Alani. I like the Stardust. Also in the cherry twist.
Next up, what advice would you give to newlyweds? One of the things that I feel like has been very beneficial for both of us, because we did come from such different family cultures, even though we were raised so similarly, when we have a conversation asking, is this what you meant? Or this is what I heard, is this what you were saying? Yeah. And clarifying, because I think it's so easy coming from such different backgrounds and processing so differently. Like, I'm an external processor and he's an internal processor. So just asking the question during our conversations, this is what I heard, is that exactly what you were meaning? And being able to clarify that before feelings get hurt or before you change your whole schedule or lifestyle when that wasn't actually what was being said.
Yeah.
So I think that's helped. And then probably one of my favorite pieces of advice is just to really enjoy the time you have. At least for us, it has only gotten busier with time. And just looking back and treasuring every walk that we took and every drive that we took and just not being in a rush and enjoying all of those little moments, because it seems like time gets faster and faster.
Yeah. And along with that, this might seem really random, but it's something we were counseled to do, and we did it. But for the first year of marriage, don't have a TV. That might seem extreme, but there are so many things happening in those first months of marriage where you're learning, or you're supposed to be learning each other and how to, really bond and become one. And that's observing how you're, what makes your spouse tick, what means a lot to them, what
there's
don't they like.
There's so much to learn.
there is so much to learn about, the other person, and you want to devote your attention to that. And so plan activities together, read together, do things together, because when you have that screen, you can just kind of, all those other things just go to the wayside, and you're just focused on whatever's on the screen. And so I thought that was really helpful for us, is just don't have a TV the first year of marriage. Focus on these other things for building that relationship. And I think nothing but good came out of that for us.
Next. This one is so sweet. Michaela has the longest, most beautiful lashes. I would love to know, what mascara do you use? Okay, I had almost no lashes until my sisters told me about the Hello Skincare Lash Therapy, and it is an absolute game changer. It is very expensive. I buy it once a year on their Black Friday buy one get one free sale, but it lasts me the whole year that way, and it really is amazing.
It works.
It really works. I use it every single night when I go to bed, and it really has dramatically changed my lashes. So that's kind of the secret. And for mascara, I use the Maybelline Lash Sensational. It's just a pink, thick bottle. My sister-in-law Whitney told me about it. I grab it from Walmart. I want to say it's like $7, so it's cheap. But the Lash Therapy is the worker. Next up. What is your favorite card game to play if y'all play cards? Our family is Uno. I prefer Phase 10. Those are both fun.
Those are fun. We have a new one, though.
We do. We just learned a new game this weekend, and it was a blast. It's called Piles. And it's a quick game where you're trying to match multiple sets of clothing items and finish all of your
piles.
It's hard to explain them. It's like laundry piles, and they're all mixed together, but you're trying to get 4 of each one.
4 of the same thing.
4 of the same thing together. So 4 sweaters or 4 socks or 4 dresses. And it was so much fun.
Yeah. Very fast-paced game.
Fast-paced,
but
yeah.
It's a good family game for older people to play with younger people. Like, it's fun for a
every
wide
age can
group.
enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it's one of the few games that I feel like it's set up so you can play with 2 to 8 players. And just being the 2 of us, it's harder to find games that only 2 people can play. So we love that. Next up, do you read a paper Bible or audiobook or app on your phone? I have actually done all 3. For a phase, I was struggling with my eyesight, and I did the Bible on my phone. There are times when I was driving to school that I would listen to it on the way to school, but I have found that reading a paper Bible is just the absolute best for me to not have distractions and notifications. We're both from big families, so we have family group threads and things pop up, and it's just such a busy world, and I feel like I struggle with keeping my mind focused on spending time with the Lord and not, if a notification pops up, seeing that. So I feel like my quiet time was not as quality, and I wasn't experiencing as much peace. I wasn't feeling as connected to the Lord when I was using my phone because I was getting distracted. And so I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with it. But for me personally, having a paper Bible and being able to shut out distractions, have a pen and paper to take notes, it really has it's been transformative. I grew up just with, hard copy because I'm 35 and there weren't really computers or cell phones back then.
Right. No apps when we were kids.
Yeah. But then different seasons, it has been beneficial for for a phase when I was struggling with my eyesight to have the larger print and to have it lit. But when Brandy got me a new Bible for Christmas last year, the year before, with larger print, and just being able to sit down and focus and touch a handheld Bible has been amazing for me.
Yeah.
Alrighty, last question. What kinds of videos will y'all be posting this year?
So we mentioned this in our last video from 2024, which we probably posted after New Year's Day, but it was filmed in 2024, that we were not going to be pursuing children's content so much this year, but more adult content, but also adding. You want to talk about your recipe?
Well, I feel like you guys have kind of helped us know what you enjoy watching and what parts of our life you like being involved in. And there have been a lot of requests for recipes. So I'm going to try to share some of the recipes I do. There were also questions for what I do in a day, some about, sewing business and just different stuff like that. So as you guys leave questions and as we interact, we're going to try to kind of share some of the things that you all want to see. And so thank you for helping us out. And yeah, more life updates and stuff that we get to experience with our nieces and nephews and a little more family stuff.
Yeah. 2025 has been a crazy beginning.
A whirlwind, really.
It really, really has. But God has been faithful and we're still here. Everybody's still here. So we're grateful for that. But thank you so much for spending this time with us and we hope to see you next time.